Greetings from Movie Land. I'm the hostess with the mostest, and yes, today we are talking about Godzilla Minus One. Boy, am I so happy I was not disappointed in this film. This lived to my expectations and then somehow exceeded them. When I first started seeing trailers for this and the rumblings of all of that, naturally, yes, I was excited. Godzilla has been a huge part of my life for a very, very long time, as far as I can remember, renting the VHS tapes and watching Godzilla movies. I can still remember what my first Godzilla movie was. Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Fantastic movie. But we're not here talking about the smog monster right now. We're talking about Minus One. And Minus One, let me tell you, turn off this video and go watch it. No, I'm dead serious. Go watch it. Support this. Not only because of my Godzilla bias, but also to support just well-made movies. Excellently well-made movies. Go see this. It is so worth it, and I really, really hope that Godzilla is going to pave the way for more foreign films to start getting wide releases, especially in America. Because I feel like I've been seeing so many people complaining over the years that there's no originality, there's nothing, it's all the same, it's endless superhero movies, it just never ends, it franchises, sequels, prequels, sea-boots. Go see this so we can get more original movies in our cinemas and more foreign films that will actually can take risks and do things differently. This is how you do a newer franchise movie. So please take note, Americans. This is how it's done. And so yeah, obviously I very, very much enjoyed the film. I hope you guys enjoyed the film just as much as I did and went and saw it. So now I'm gonna spoil the crap out of this. Yeah, I'm very excited for Godzilla Minus 2. I very hope we get a sequel to this, because that would be amazing, especially with where it ended at the end. But I want to discuss the film itself. So Godzilla Minus One has actually done the impossible and made me care about our human characters. I was not expecting this. Because, I'll be honest, most of the time, if not almost every single time, you are there for the monsters. You are there for Godzilla. You're there for whatever he's fighting. You're not really there for the humans. But this did the impossible, and I actually cared about the humans to the point where I was actually tearing up in the theater. And I think that is why this movie connected with me so much, because movies don't have quite the emotional impact on me as they used to. And maybe it's just because I've seen so many over the years. Or maybe it's also possible that the stories just aren't as great these days. But it hurt because I was watching the movie and I was so invested. But when I was out of the theater, I was like, yes, I'm glad that I was upset while watching this. And that I was crying. And it just, you don't get emotion like this anymore in movies. And so we have our main lead, who is a ex-kamikaze pilot. And he pretended that his plane was damaged. And that is how he managed to basically survive the war from there. For those of you who don't know, kamikaze pilots were fighter jet pilots who were just told to ram your plane into the enemy and cause as much damage as possible, and your sacrifice will be for the greater good of Japan. That's pretty messed up. if you really think about that. And this film does explore that. It explores survivor's guilt. It is... The beginning of it takes place shortly after World War II has concluded. And Japan is picking themselves back up and trying to recover from the horrors of losing the war and the nuclear bomb drops and just how... What do you do after all of this? And that's where I feel Godzilla's strengths have always been, is being either allegories for a wider issue or a way to heal an entire people and make something that is a monster at the end of the day, that is destroying cities and killing people, but it's a beacon for people to come together. And that is one of the main themes of the film. This film doesn't explore the nuclear side of things as much as I originally thought it was going to. I thought it was going to dive more into how do we recover from this? What do we do as a people? We had bombs dropped on us, and hundreds of thousands of people have died because of this. What do we do after all of this? And so it's amazing to see that this series has been a big thing of that. But this one explores the more human and personal side of things. And you could definitely tell this movie did not have the biggest budget in the world. There was, you could tell there were some CGI scenes that did look pretty rough around the edges, but I also could tell that they were smart with their money because they were able to put it where it counted. Of course, the big scene where he's stomping around the city and destroying buildings, I can safely say, at least to the viewing that I had, that looked amazing. It really did look amazing. And the destruction of it. And also, too, another thing I want to highlight is how small Godzilla was in this. I don't exactly know how tall this Godzilla would be, but he is obviously in no shape or size to the legendary Godzilla that is probably the biggest Godzilla that we will ever have, because he's just ridiculously huge at this point. But this one, I liked how small he was because it really made the destruction more personal than it ever has. And yes, we have had scenes before in prior Godzillas, mainly with the 54, the original. There was a little bit of that in the 1984 remake. And there's been a few bits and pieces of it, like with Biollante and all that kind of stuff. But this, I really liked for how personal it was by making Godzilla so small. Because you were able to see what is directly happening instead of where he's so big that they're just pushing each other into skyscrapers. But you're not really seeing what happens when something like that happens. So like in this one, for example, when he bites down on that train, and the fact that the train is like the size of a toy to him, instead of being like this tiny little like Hot Wheel car, it was just more like, it was probably about like this big to him, one of the cars. And so the fact when he was biting down on that and you saw that destruction, and when he's stomping through the streets, and this is probably one of the first times we've actually seen Godzilla step on somebody as well, and it actually take it seriously and not try to play it up for a joke or be kind of humorous to it, but take it 100% seriously that he is just mad. He is mad at humanity for what we have done with the nuclear weapons, and he's taking it out, and he's, I guess I would argue that it's kind of Godzilla putting us in our place of being like, hey, you guys need to chill out and stop bombing each other, or else I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start smashing stuff. And so this was probably the angriest I think I've ever seen Godzilla, to the point where they made him a villain. And that was pretty refreshing. It actually was, because I am so used, there's so many Godzilla films out there where he is the hero. And yes, Godzilla is a hero, because at the end of the day, he does come to the land and he does fight other monsters. But this took it in a completely different and unique direction, that it was like, yeah, he does need to be stopped, because if we weren't going to stop him, that's the end of it. He's just going to not stop. And there was just excellent scene after excellent scene, like when they're riding around on the boats. And I thought it was really clever that our main hero was part of a mine clearing operation, and that to get some extra cash post-war, that he went out and he would try to clean up mines that were left in the oceans. And so that gives us a really good excuse to get our characters out into the ocean, where Godzilla primarily is. So I thought that was super clever. And my favorite scene of the whole movie is them distracting Godzilla so a main naval vessel can come and hopefully kill Godzilla and stop this before he can get to the mainland. And him just swimming up on them like a shark. I thought that was so cool that we got to see that. And they're sitting there, and they have like a 30mm machine gun on the back of the boat to shoot the mines when they get them up on the surface. And so they would shoot them so that way they'd blow up safely and not kill anybody or damage anything. And so I thought that was so clever that they used that plot line for the best scene in the movie. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. And then, of course, the city destruction scene was just heartbreaking to watch this. And you are in the shoes of the people running from Godzilla, because there was no hope. What do you do besides just run? And then, of course, you have the big scene. The scene, I would say, of all of this, even though it wasn't my favorite, but I still loved it, was when they did something different with his atomic breath, where they actually made it feel more like a nuclear bomb. I thought that was a really neat touch, where they had the whole build-up where his spines are starting to come out from his back, and then when he shoots it, it's not like a fire breath or, the kind of stuff that we're used to. Think like the Legendary movies, where they make a big deal of it and it's like brum 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 blah, and then it's like that whole thing. No, they do the whole brum brum blah thing to build up to it, but then it gets quiet and he just goes, and then the laser shoots out, and then you hear the explosion. I don't know why, but I thought that was really well done sound design. And then the fact that after it blows up, it looks like a mushroom cloud. I'm just getting chills thinking about this. So I don't want to spoil this too much, because I genuinely want you to go out there and go see this movie. Yes, it is in Japanese and it is subtitled, but I promise you, it is worth the watch. Especially if you are one of those people that are tired of the endless franchises that we've been getting and the fact that they keep screwing them up left and right. Go see this, go support this, and let the world know that if you are going to do a newer version of an established franchise, this is how it's done. And after saying all of this review and everything, originally I was sitting at a 9. I think I'm going to give this my first 10 on 10. That is right. Godzilla Minus One is a perfect movie. And I'll see you guys in the next video.